Hello my friends, and at last, after a while, welcome back to another video, where today I, Fellowship, will be recapping and detailing all the Sauron, villain and evil leaks for the upcoming Amazon The Lord of the Rings of Power, debuting September 2nd. Of course, there will be some leaks you will agree with, some you probably disagree with, but today's video is just an overview of all the evil related leaks we have had so far and released from our channel. Also, as a disclaimer, we will be leaving out most of the orc type leaks and rumours for a separate video as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it. It makes sense to start with the main baddie of the second age, which is of course Sauron, and that quote, Sauron is in season 1 of the Rings of Power and as an accredited character for the first season. He is said to be on the quote human village sets, which are apparently based in Middle Earth. His actor was on these sets for some months. This show was always going to have Sauron, and the fact that he is in season 1 is no surprise, but maybe his reveal might actually come at either at the end of the season, or Sauron appears in his true form briefly in season 1, and season 1 is effectively about finding out who is Sauron and what his identity is. But the fact that he was present at this village set for some months indicates that maybe due to time compression, we are seeing what would probably be lore-wise 3100-ish into the second age, where Sauron is in the eastern parts of Middle Earth going up his forces and attacking human settlements and Numenorian port cities. Looking more in depth into this potential Sauron candidate, we have quote, the potential Sauron on these sets is said to be apparently a quote, mysterious, hooded, robed yet menacing figure. This character is said to be quote, very intimidating. The actor playing this hooded character, who is presumably Sauron, is unknown. He shows his face in one scene. There are two main takeaways here, and the first one is that Sauron is said to be a very quote, intimidating and hooded / robed figure, and this is all culminating into the previous point, where the idea of finding out who Sauron is in season 1 will be the main focus point for the main villain of the second age. The fact that he is mysterious further amplifies this consistent theme. Furthermore, the fact that he shows his face in one scene might indicate that this could potentially be the big reveal that the person under the robe all along is actually X character and actor, and this is the big shock. However, there is said to be more than one evil figure / Dark Lord in this show, and that is through the character of Adar, where quote, Joseph Maul is reportedly playing a character called Adar (Amazon original name) and is an elf, but quote corrupted and quote tortured. Joseph Maul's character Adar was also on the human village sets for a while, the same ones as the hooded figure was on, end quote. So it seems like Amazon has created this Dark Lord / villain to most likely fill the void of having this mysterious robed Sauron, who will probably be playing the strings from the back and won't really be at center stage. But to have a show with the villain not at center stage, or at least actively involved in the events, would result in quite a dull show. So to compensate for this, it seems that Amazon is going with the quote new Dark Lord and villain to fill this hole, just probably for the first season. The presence of this Adar is intriguing because he is said to be a corrupted and tortured elf. The fact that he was an elf who was corrupted and tortured could either be one of two things. Firstly, he was a product of one of Morgoth's actions in the first age and survived the entirety of the War of Wrath, and therefore we are having two independent villains in the first season, or that Sauron corrupted Adar, who was once an elf, and instead Adar is just Sauron's glorified henchman. And it doesn't stop there, because quote, Adar Joseph Maul is apparently in charge of the orcs in this village, and the orcs see him as a quote, father figure, but Adar is not an orc, he is an elf. Coincidentally, Adar in Sindarin translates to father. Now, this stuff is very intriguing and is yet admittedly not really present in Tolkien's works, and fans' fears around this potential corrupted elf leading orc armies is totally fine, as despite corruption of species not being an alien concept in Tolkien's works, having an elf of that prominence, who we'll talk about later might be Galadriel's brother, that gets corrupted into this evil figure is quite extreme and is of course quite a big liberty. Still, the fact that he is in charge of the orcs and all the orcs worship him as a father figure further emphasizes that Adar will probably be leading the armies in the first season and had direct control over the orcs as opposed to Sauron, wherever he might be. Adar translating to father in Sindarin is not a coincidence either, as McPain probably thought this through and he will be called Adar in the show by the orcs, but if this is his main character name is yet to be confirmed. However, there is some friction between these two characters, as this quote hooded and robed figure, presumably meant to be Sauron, leads a group of men somewhere and they all celebrate the character in a chant. But the quote hooded figure and Maul's character Adar also face off against each other over something. For those confused, the two characters mentioned here is that Sauron potential figure who is hooded and robed, and then Adar. This face-off will probably be at the end of the season and might be one of those biggest season finale moments. Reading it like this on screen, the moment seems really intense and climactic. In regards to the celebration in a chant in the tent, this is quite a cool touch, and again for those confused, this is the hooded robed figure who is leading those townsfolk. From previous leaks, we have also learned that there has been some orc mischief occurring as well, with quote, there is a village that gets attacked with orcs, and after multiple night raids the village leader is forced to surrender. If I had to guess, this is most likely Bronwyn's village, and even casting ourselves back to this tweet by Nazanin Bunyadi, who is of course playing Bronwyn, where she mentioned some grueling night shoots, it's quite easy to put 2 and 2 together. So this must mean that these attacks are happening in Tirharad and in the east, which links to the earlier belief that this could be Sauron rising in the east again. Most recently, from a tweet from us, we gave an overview of this Adar character stating, quote, after tonight's Council of Fans live, we all mainly came to the conclusion that Adar (Joseph Maul) is the big baddie of Season 1 and will be portrayed by Amazon as the new Dark Lord in Middle-earth. However, he Adar is not Sauron. Additionally, the Sauron character and Adar could face off in a season finale. So this is also mentioning the big face-off from earlier, but the one thing that I have left to the end in regards to Adar is that he is potentially one of Galadriel's brothers. Yes, I know, and this is one of the most contested leaks so far, and yes, at surface level it sounds really stupid and can still be, but removing myself from being a Tolkien fan for a second and thinking on a television level, killing the brother of Galadriel but then having him resurrected, and then the main villain is Galadriel's brother, dun, an average fan will probably have their mind blown, while we are all sitting here like, what? And more pertinently, physically links Galadriel to the attacks and to the villains of Season 1, as the main villain is literally her brother, but now corrupted, so I'm sure having to take such a liberty like this to link Galadriel to the evil storyline and narrative was paramount for McPain. Finally, we have a report about another potential evil character, quote, "Just like in The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings movies, there will be an important orc character with lines and a story arc. He is said to look incredibly similar to this orc from Lord of the Rings. He will be one of Adar's commanders. If executed correctly, this could be really compelling and a cool feature by the showrunners, or it could just be wasted screen time. The fact that he is a commander to Adar shows the hierarchy in this evil army, with it being orcs, then this character, then Adar and maybe Sauron on top, or just Adar. But the main worry I can see brewing from here is if they try to make the orcs relatable or even sympathetic, which is a common theme currently in Hollywood. One of the best bits of the Lord of the Rings books is hearing the orcs converse with each other and go by their day-to-day business, such as when Sam was in the tunnels underground in Mordor. Even in the movies played this up as well between Lurtz and the other orcs in the beginning of the Two Towers. If executed, it's a really cool feature, but it is important to not get lost in it. Overall, the main problem with having one main villain as Sauron throughout the entire Second Age and then having a 5-season show which will probably span across 10 years is that if you have the same villain in the same way, have Sauron similarly in season 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, it will just get boring and dull to the extent where it's just evil needs to develop and build. It begins quite slow, but not too slow where the viewer just disengages, but then it builds up across seasons. So I can understand if in this first season Sauron's probably going to be more behind the scenes, and then going into season 2 we see him a bit more. And I know some people are worried about that, but we'll just have to wait and see. But the inclusion of Adar is, let's say, quite interesting. Thank you guys for watching, we really appreciate it. Of course, some potential characters that could be classified as villains such as Pharazôn and Meteor Man will be discussed in separate videos, but make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with everything Fellowship of Fans. But until the next video my friends, goodbye.